Hey guys, Dylan from Geek Door here, and today I'll be bringing you my reaction to Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 5, titled The Story and the Engine. In Lagos, the mysterious barber reigns supreme. Can the Doctor stop his epic revenge? Interesting. So we've got yet another antagonist simply referred to by a descriptor, which is fairly common for Doctor Who, though it's more common with like the Pantheon or Time Lords. So, question is if it's related to either of those. And stop his revenge. That is interesting. There we go. That's interesting because revenge implies some prior slighting, at least perceived slighting. So, is that against the people of Lagos or is it against the Doctor? That is the question. I don't think we'd be. Oh, wait, no. Hang on. I was about to say, I don't think we're going to be getting another Pantheon so close to Lux. And I think they're trying to stay away from Time Lords for the moment, so. But we did have Mrs. Flood say she's the governor. Yes, I did find out that governor is what they basically refer to as the one in charge of the prison in England. So there's that, but it could also be she's Time Lord. So they could be related to that. But we've seen things from this from the trailer, so I'm interested to see what's going to happen. But let's get this started in 3, 2, 1, go. There we go. I do like this little visual we're getting. Hmm. No, I'm a doctor. Hmm. that's that's very interesting to transition from the little um visual we're getting, morph that into the opening. That was a nice touch. And saving a village from a forest fire, that's not really the Doctor's usual MO. Is that true about Lagos having a telecommunication center? I would have expected him to, like, grab some parts or something. Hmm. Desire to be accepted by those like you. I do wonder because Nshudi said that he wanted to do one that focused more on African culture in the first season, but they weren't able to. And then we got this one, which is, I don't know if it's because of that or they just coincidentally did it. But are we going to get one with going to India? Has the Doctor been to India? I don't know. Then again, a British thing headed to India, that could be questionable. How does an entire. Oh no, it's. I thought the building was gone. I thought this blank space was where the building used to be, and does this thing feed off of stories? Hmm. Why do I have a feeling that if you don't have a satisfactory story, you get sacrificed? It. Is that visualization happening in universe? Hmm. Where's Abby? Is she stuck in there now too? Huh. Why do you? Yes. I would very much like to get a proper answer. Because he loves the Doctor. I think I know him. I don't know if any of this is like cultural stuff that I'm missing. Doctor, do you have hair to cut? He is the greatest source of stories. Hmm. Hmm. That was that was almost Sonic. Maybe maybe I wasn't so far off with Time Lord. It always does hurt him the most when the people close to him betray him. And it happens too frequently. I did say they were moving. See, that is why I thought Pantheon. Because apparently that spider has some markings of a African god on it. I don't I don't know about African um like pantheons and that, so I don't know how true that is, but like the beaded bits that were going around its leg. So now I've seen Time Lord and Pantheon, so if Linda were to say open the door, could everyone just walk out then? Because they didn't seem to make any effort when the doctor arrived. Hmm. Yes, she seems to have some issue with companions. Hmm. Well, that was a little zesty. Bastet. Interesting that he'd been too north once. Bastet is. Isn't she like a form of knowledge? Like, I know Thoth is the actual knowledge one. No. You'll see, we've met actual gods. You did? So it's not just the pantheon, the actual gods exist. Hmm. I mean, that still does tie in with Dionysus, at least. So what, you're like Homer, or at least a figure like Homer? Wasn't that the theater that Lux was in? Oh shit, we're getting expanded on her? Because isn't the fugitive doctor Free Hartnell? Does that include the Pantheon? Because that may not be a bad thing. The only way for a god to die is for the world to forget them, so. I don't actually know the story of her father. Here's the thing, regardless of the storytelling aspect, the gods are fundamental beings of nature. Destroying them would destroy everything. Here's the thing, though, that I'm confused about. From my understanding, having not seen Jodie's series, I thought she didn't remember the fugitive doctor. Well, when the fugitive was her. Yet he spoke about winning winning the bet for the daughter, and that was when she was. I did not know that. And she's just hmm. Well, that would be weird trying to trace your steps. Just gotta hope you don't get too turned around. I guess. A tree. Oops. Had a little flicker of the internet there. I don't know what. I have heard of something like that. Hmm. I wasn't expecting to get so many of the past Doctors showcased in this one episode. Oh, it is traveling now. Well, I mean, yeah, it is back 2019, so it would be 7 billion. I don't think he's leaving. Even after everything, he's still trying to save him. why do I see him pushing the doctor through the door as it closes? Oh no, they both made it out. You may want to find a new shop. Is that how they show deference to gods in um at least Lagos? There's a lot the gods can learn from mortals. Well, that does add a little snippet of intrigue. Interesting. So this has a lot of expanded implication. I don't know why I was so surprised about seeing so many doctors featured in this, because in Rogue, not Rogue, what was it? What was his name? Oh no, it was Rogue. We saw all of the previous Doctors, including some that had yet to have been canonized as the Doctor, like from extended media, like what was it, Richard E. Grant, I think. So there does seem to be a point in every season that they showcase all the past Doctors. So I don't know why I was so surprised about that. And I had a feeling as soon as I realized that it was based off of stories, that the doctor was going to feed that engine. It's like it's almost like I know I've compared a lot of the past episodes this season to Tennant's era, but this was Matt Smith. Um, I forget what it's called. The when they go to that alien planet where there's this like parasitic beast out in space that feeds off of all their pain and anguish, and while the kid is singing the song, Matt Smith goes and speaks like, I have thousands of years of pain feed off of me. I forget what the actual quote is. But yeah, it was sort of like that, how he overloaded it with purely the fact that he has been around for so long. He has experienced way more of what it requires for sustenance than it can handle. Let's just go Matt Smith, Doctor English. Akaten. The Rings of Akaten. I do love how just typing in Matt Smith, Doctor Anguish Feeder, came up with exactly what I was wanting. Um, I have lived a long life, and I have seen a few things. I have walked away from the last great time law. I marked the passing of the Time Lords. I saw the birth of the universe, and I watched as time ran out, moment by moment, until nothing remained. No time, no space, just me. I walked in universes where the laws of physics were devised by the mind of a madman. I watched universes freeze and creations burn. I have seen things you wouldn't believe. I have lost things you will never understand. And I know things. Secrets that must never be told, knowledge that must never be spoken, knowledge that will make Parasite God's blaze. So come on then, take it. Take it all, baby. Have it. You can have it all. That is what I was thinking when we see the Doctor feed the storyteller with all of his past lives. It was that is what I was thinking. But um my internet's still been weird because it's been playing up all day, so I can't actually get back into the part of the episode where the Doctor was talking about all the gods. Um, so there we go. All I had to do was complain about it, and then I almost got to the exact point. Um, there we go. You want to know who I am? Anansi. I'm going to look up all the gods. Saga. Norse. I'm not actually familiar with Saga. Like, I thought I knew most of the Norse pantheon, but Bastet. Bastet is Egyptian. She's the cat one. Dionysus, obviously, god of wine, revelry, theatre, all of that. And Loki, god of mischief, obviously. So Anansi is a central figure in West African and Caribbean folklore, known as a trickster spider who embodies wisdom, trickery, and cunning. So it is somewhat of a Loki figure, and that is what people thought when they saw the barbershop on the back of the spider in the trailer. They saw the African beads and other like markings around one of his legs, and they thought Anansi was going to be revealed as a member of the Pantheon, or the Doctor was going to be dealing with Anansi themselves. Now we find out that it is merely modelled off of them. Um, hmm. Saga, the Norse Aesir goddess of wisdom and prophecy. So again, another knowledge-based deity. I'm going to look into that a little bit more. Let's go into that. Bastet was a prominent feline goddess in ancient Egyptian, known for nurturing and protective qualities. What was she the goddess of? Protection, pleasure, and the bringer of good health. That doesn't really tie in with the others. Okay. Okay. Dionysus, obviously I went over that. God of wine, festivity, ecstasy, and theatre. So there is a tie between Bastet and Dionysus with pleasure and ecstasy. So, and then Loki. So they are all tangentially related. Like Trickster ties Loki and Anansi, Anansi and Saga with wisdom, Bastet and Dionysus with pleasure, ecstasy. Dionysus was also the god of madness, which would tie in with Loki's chaos. So there's also Dionysus being associated with fertility, which again ties in with Bastet. So it's very interesting that they chose those specific gods. It confirms that at least 3 other pantheons of genuine gods exist within the Doctor Who universe. Because we've got the. Well, actually, was Anansi a god? It just says a prominent figure. So, did we know? Okay, Anansi is not a god in the traditional sense, but rather a trickster figure and deity. So, deity, same elevated level, but not officially recognized as a god. Okay, but it was seen in the same time as the gods of the African people. So, while not a part of the pantheon, a member of that area, so you'd assume that the gods themselves would also exist. And also, his daughter referred to herself as a god, so. Um. Yes. Hmm. I don't. I don't know if outside of those that have been confirmed in the pantheon, whether we've actually seen the Doctor interact with gods, because he does say that of all of the gods that were mentioned, he's interacted with all but Loki. Because he said he drank with Dionysus, Bastet whooped his ass in chess. Saga he watched Marvel movies with, and she didn't like how small Chris Hemsworth is as Thor, which, yeah, that's telling as the real Thor was, he had a body, not a bodybuilder, it's a, what is it, weightlifters? Not weightlifters. Yeah, heavy weightlifter body. Like the big people you see in the Olympics. That's what Thor's meant to look like. And he won the won Anansi's daughter in a bet. Um yeah, I'm not able to get any information on that because the internet's been weird. So I'm gonna have to leave that here. But I'm very interested to see what comes of the implication, whether this does get expanded upon or it's just, hey, these are throwaway lines. Because what differentiates the gods from the pantheon is the question. Um, hmm, who knows? But, I mean, you did have Sutek, the original version, how he was an alien that was believed to be gods. The Sirens, Sutek and Horus, as were Scaroth, Field Major Styx, Jane Templeton, in brackets it says Thoth, Field Major Styx was Sontar, and Antak Amun. So there was the Egyptian, which would tie into Bastet. There's saying that Kronos, I want to see what that is. That's from, there are a couple links to Kronos. Um, Kronos, also spelled Kronos, is the most fearsome of the Chronovores, a species of extra-dimensional creatures that devour time. He and his siblings were worshipped as Titans by the ancient Greeks and by the people of Atlantis, where he eventually destroyed. He was revered as Rhea's husband. So, I guess that does tie in that the Greeks' pantheon works. Um, there hasn't in ancient Romans worshipped gods, including Venus and Vulcan, which the only reference to that was the fires of Pompeii. We didn't actually see them, but apparently the Vikings, in The Girl Who Died, mentioned worshipping Odin, which, yeah, that makes sense, but there was nothing to prove that Odin existed. Same with the Romans in the fires of Pompeii, so I guess this is confirming that those beliefs were correct. I do wonder if if the Egyptian gods were aliens, were the Osirians, and the Titans were the Chronovores, so which would thus say that Kronos has kids. At least Zeus and Poseidon were linked on that. Talks about Rhea and the other Titans, so you assume those are. That feeds directly into Roman mythology, so that would imply that they exist. Now, yes, Venus comes from Greece but was actually brought over by a different group and they adopted her into their mythology, so that sort of ties in yet another thing through her. So, really, when you get into the nitty gritty, there's a lot of interconnectivity with the gods, and having one exist sort of implies that others do exist through tangential connections. So I don't know why I'm so surprised or why I'm so fixated on this. Probably because gods is like one of my big hyperfixations. But anyway, I want to know how they differ from the Pantheon. I want to know if this Barber will come back. Like, could he be called upon by the Doctor to, like, fight against whatever Mrs. Flood is doing? Because, well, her cameo in this was nothing really big. I do agree that they should do something with her rather than just having cameos. Like, it is really feeling like the Susan Triad. Like, oh, here's her character for this week. Like, sure, she had something interesting last week, and her actually playing a role in The Well has some intrigue, but this one, we already knew she was Belinda's neighbor, so it didn't add anything. It's just like, oh, hey, my neighbor just happens to be at my work today. Okay. Her being in Lux was interesting. The fact that she was featured in the trailers for the next episode is very interesting. So I feel like maybe we're going to get more of her next week. I hope. Otherwise, I'm going to agree that there's some wasted potential there. But yeah. Given. I wonder if the storyteller would know of her. Having collected stories from pretty much the entirety of human history by the sounds of it would seem like if there is a being going around through history making connections with people that feel slighted by the Doctor on Earth, is something he would know about. So, I don't know. There's also the question of, did he choose that barbershop specifically because he knew that he was connected to the Doctor in the hopes that drawing him in the same way that he had Anansi's daughter, specifically the one that the Doctor won when they were the fugitive? That is interesting. I was going to look up Hemingway's 6-word poem. Story. No poem. Internet's gone again. Problem is, I can't even look at it on my phone because that's playing up too. Oh, great. My second screen just went. Never mind, it's back. I've been having a lot of tech issues. Hemingway 6-word story. Hemingway was challenged to create an entire short story in 6 words. He wrote, "For sale, baby shoes, never worn." That is definitely a story in 6 words. A sad story in 6 words. I was also going to see the cast of this because I swear one of the guys looked familiar. Doctor Who, what was it called? The Story in the Engine. Please actually work. So go into IMDb. Well, that doesn't help. Most of them don't have pictures on their cast. It wasn't her. Him. Okay, was once again wrong. I really should just stop bothering to look it up when I think I know someone, because most of the time I don't. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here. I'm very interested to see what other people think of it. So, with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.